From Anshei Sphard-Beth Emeth congregation, it's time to take 10 minutes for Torah with Rabbi Joel Finkelstein.
Welcome to our discussion of the book of Ruth, Two Chosen Ones. If we look at the end of the book of Ruth, we have a genealogy, story of Ruth going back all the way to Judah's son Peretz and all the way down to David. That Ruth is the bridge between Judah, Yaakov, and in the end, King David. And it's introduced, Ve'ele Toldot Peretz, and these are the genealogies. As Yael Ziegler points out in her book, Ruth, just like in Genesis, we have major figures like Abraham, like Noah, and then in between they're just, Ve'ele Toldot, there's some other people in between, but they're just sifted out. But we need to get to the main character. So too over here. Ruth, Boaz, significant, but they're just a chain on the way to David, the chosenness of David. But why is this genealogy so important? Now let's zero in on this genealogy as the Igeret Shmuel did, the Reb Shmuel du Zayda, rabbi from the 16th century, Sephardic Jew, how he zeroed in on this pasuk. Let's see what he has to say about it. He says, why are there 10 generations? Why not mention Judah? After all, these are Yehudim, they're from Yehudah. Why not mention it? He says, well, we wanted to just have 10, because Asiriya Kodesh, because the 10th is holy, the 10th is Maaser, and that was David. You could also say that everyone knows, in the Beit Lechem Yehudah, we were in Judah. The question is, which family? So we begin with Peretz. He was the first one. And then Rabbi Shmuel du Zayda notices that there's malay. The word is malay, toledot. There's a vav at the beginning, a vav at the end. You can spell it with a vav at the beginning, not at the end, a vav at the end, not at the beginning. Here it's spelled with a vav in both cases. It's malay, it's whole. Because the vav represents tiferet, the splendor, the perfect blending of things. And the vav represents wholeness and completeness and the tree of life. And because there are 6 things that were removed through the sin of Adam, and 6 things that are put back by the Mashiach. And therefore, the Vav is there to tell me that this genealogy will eventually lead to David, who eventually leads to the Mashiach, to the Messiah. And therefore, this is a complete genealogy. This is incredible. This is just the right kind of family tree that we want. Now, when we talk about the relationship to Peretz, why go back to Peretz? Well, he points out that Peretz is very similar to Boaz. We don't know if you often notice it, but at the end of the story, there's a little bit of a sleight of hand. He says, would you like this field? Boaz says to the Redeemer, who would be the would-be husband of Ruth. He says, would you like the field? So, sure, I'll take the field. He says, of course you get Ruth comes with it, So, I'm sorry, I have to back out of it. In other words, Boaz is fully aware that he's not the closest redeemer. In the traditions of those days, this Ploni Almoni, this other individual was unnamed. He would be the likely one to marry Ruth. But he kind of arranged it because he knew that it was from God. It was meant to be. This woman was so righteous, so kind, and it was meant to be. And therefore, he arranged that he would marry her. It kind of reminds us of Peretz. Zerach was a twin brother of Peretz. He was beginning to come out, and his hand came out, but then Peretz jumped out. Peretz jumped out and became the firstborn son, and he became the progenitor of David himself. And after all, who was the first one to try to knock off his brother, to try to push aside his brother? Yaakov. Now you could look at all these stories, Yaakov, stealing the birthright, and Peretz jumping out when his brother had come first, or Boaz trying to maneuver things so that he married the right girl. You could view it very negatively. Comes the book here, and Shmuel du Zayda, and he says, no, Peretz was correct, Yaakov was correct, and Boaz is correct as well. If something is right, you really want it, you should go after it, you should do it, you should show this rizut, take initiative. That other fellow, he could have done it, Esav and Zerach and the Ploni Almoni, this unnamed person, all 3 of those characters who were pushed aside. If they really wanted it, they could have taken more action. Esav said, what do I need it for? He let Yaakov outfox him. If you want something, it's holy, make the extra effort. I'm not saying it should be done crookedly, do it properly, but do it, go after it, do it with fastidiousness, with punctiliousness, do it with joy, because it's the right thing to do. Now, also, we know that Peretz was born to Judah, and just as that was a little bit unseemly, Judah met his daughter-in-law, he slept with his daughter-in-law. Seems like it was somewhat unseemly, but we say no, it was proper because he hadn't married off his daughter, whatever reason it was. So too over here, you might say it looks a little unseemly. It's a woman, she kind of proposes to the man, Ruth proposes to Boaz instead of the other way around. Maybe there's something unseemly, we say no. It's L'Shem Shamayim, they wanted to establish a wonderful family, people who were respected, kindness, and this was meant to be. He speaks of the idea of the redemption of souls, that's what life is all about, to try to bring back the souls that were lost, these souls of Lot, the souls of Moab, the souls of Naomi, of Ruth. These are things that we have to bring back. We Kabbalistically, they get lost in life, and we have to bring back these sparks, to bring them back in the realm of holiness. And that's what Ruth did. That's what this story is all about. You know, the Jewish people were chosen for a special mission, a special responsibility that we have. Jerusalem was chosen as a special city where the temple would rest. The Kohanim, Aaron and his sons, were chosen as a special family. The Levites were chosen. They have their special role to help in the temple. But there's also one individual who was chosen to have a unique role, and that's David. David and his progeny, eventually the Mashiach himself, they're also chosen. And this book is about the chosenness, the Bechira of David, who would be the special kind of person who would be able to save the Jewish people, whose child would one day save the whole world. This book of Ruth is an explanation of that chosenness. And on Shavuos, we read this book because on Shavuos, the Jewish people were chosen. And in some ways, each one of us can be the Boaz, can be a Peretz, can be a David, can be a Messiah in our own little way. To be fastidious, do what needs to be done, do it right, do it now, do it properly. Don't let someone else do it. If it's a mitzvah, something good, you want to do it. You want to be the one to be able to do all the good things. And hopefully if we do that, we too will have proven that we too were chosen for a special mission. Thanks to Jason Lefowitz for producing our discussion today. Thank you for each one of us, each one of you joining us today here at the Anshei Sphard-Beth Emeth congregation here in Memphis, Tennessee. Join us each week for a discussion of the Parsha and the various holidays. We wish everyone a Chag Sameach, a joyous and meaningful Shavuos.
This has been 10 Minutes for Torah with Rabbi Joel Finkelstein. To learn more, visit asb.org.